All right, it looks like we're live. Thank you for joining us for episode 30. What did I just say? 34 of the Inner Strength Empowerment Hour. I'm Lori Peters stand-in, and I am so happy you're here for this really important talk on bariatric surgery, gastric bypass, gastric sleep, lap band, etc. So this is something I've actually been thinking about for a really long time, and I wanted to talk about it, but it is a sensitive topic, and I want to make sure that you all understand as we go through this information that, there's no judgment here for any woman who has thought about this, is thinking about this, or has done this. This is really, believe me when I say that all my judgment is reserved for the system, because as I got into this, and I am an expert at research. Okay, so when I was in college, you learn how to do research, and maybe some of you are familiar with that, the ways that you learn how to do research so that it's not biased. You're looking for just what the facts are. And so I was just looking for statistics. And the statistics that I found are alarming and really infuriating. And so this is something that I am excited to talk about today. Our scheduled guest, Annette, is supposed to be joining us, and she was having trouble with her computer, of course, of all days. So if she does not join us, then I will share a little bit about what she told me, but we have plenty of things that we can talk about if she unfortunately cannot join. So the first thing that I wanted to do was share some of the statistics, and I shared some of these statistics with Joanne and LT last night, and I know that they're as angry as I am about just the ridiculous nature of these medical answers to these problems. So let me start with bariatric surgeries performed in the US in 2020, and that number is 297,000. 10 years ago, it was 158,000. So that just goes to show you we're almost double from where we were 10 years ago, the direction that we're headed. 1,600 of these are girls. 1,600 of these are children. 80% of all bariatric surgeries are women. So even though if you look at obesity statistics in the United States, it's right down the middle. It's half, there's Annette. It is half men, half women in terms of obesity. 80% of the people having the surgery are women. And of the 1,600 kids, hi, Annette, who, oh, that's okay. Hold on, let me unmute here. I'm asking you to unmute. So I told everyone you were having little technical
difficulties.
So what I'm doing now is just going over the statistics, and then I'll dig into your story. So
okay, perfect.
80%.
I feel like I'm so close up.
Oh yeah. Get a little closer. So 80% of these surgeries are women, even though 50% of the population that is obese is women. 80% of the people who get this surgery are women. It doesn't make any sense. And if you look at the kids, so you might be thinking, well, that's probably who's asking for it. They might be, women might be more apt to try to get the surgery or what have you. No, so if you look at the children who are getting this surgery, 73% are girls, even though 50% is the number of girls that are actually in this category that are obese. So it's split again, right down the middle, girls and boys, but the girls are the ones getting the surgery. Something really disturbing about that, it says 2/3 of adolescents seeking surgical weight loss presented with substantial mental health problems. So they're presenting with serious mental health problems, and this is the answer. 2/3 remained obese after surgery. And that's just the kids. So what about the adults, right? I wanted to put that in there because I think it's important to talk about context here. This is not just, this is a societal problem that we're having, and it's specifically targeted towards women and girls. So 1 year out, and again, I just looked these up based on, I just said, what are the statistics? I didn't look up why you shouldn't have gastric surgery, and I just am looking at both sites that promote it and don't promote it, in which they all had similar statistics because these are government statistics. 1 year after gastric sleeve surgery, approximately 77% of patients have lost their excess weight. However, after 5 years, only 56% are still at their ideal weight. Similarly, 1 year after surgery, around 51% of type 2 diabetics are in remission. 5 years later, that figure is only 20%. Short-term bariatric surgery risks: acid reflux, anesthesia-related risks, chronic nausea and vomiting, dilation of the esophagus, inability to eat certain foods, infection, stomach obstruction, and weight gain or failure to lose weight. The long-term risks include dumping syndrome, a condition that can lead to symptoms like constant nausea and dizziness. I actually talked to a woman who was having these symptoms about 3 months ago. Low blood sugar, malnutrition, vitamin deficiency, vomiting, ulcers, bowel obstruction, and hernias. Now, this was on the Mayo Clinic site that I got these, by the way. I wasn't looking for just people who don't think you should have it. This was really disturbing. So the data suggests that deficient nutrition in pregnancy carries with it a high risk of fetal damage or loss, which is of particular concern because as many as 80% of the patients having weight reduction surgery are women of childbearing age. So I asked myself, why is insurance covering this? I looked at all of this information and I thought, insurance is, they're in it for the money. So why are they, this is an inexpensive surgery. Why are they covering it? And it is because it is, okay, so it is typically covered by insurance carriers unless it's excluded. So what can happen is your insurance company can, your employer, when they negotiate with an insurance company and they look at the rates, if they're trying to get the rates down, what they pay, they can say, well, I don't want you to offer these certain things to my employees. So they can say, they call it an exclusion. So they can actually say, I don't want you to offer weight loss surgery to my employees. And that I know that's what happened with you. Your employer just said no to it. And so your employer can actually dictate that. And so it's, that just so you know, that usually makes the difference because most insurance companies will pay for it. So if your insurance company is saying no, it typically has to do with your employer. But the National Institute of Health sets guidelines for who is a good candidate for weight loss surgery. And you have to have a certain BMI. So you have to usually have a BMI over 35 with comorbidities. So what that means is that they are looking to see if you might have some significant surgeries, medical procedures, medications, and all these things that are going to outweigh what they would pay if you had the surgery. So the main things are heart disease, diabetes, and knee replacement. Okay, so what they're looking at is, is it cheaper for us to assume that this person's going to have one of these issues? Or should we have them get the surgery? Because those things do drop, but they only drop for 5 years. Guess how long the average person keeps the same insurance company? 5 years. So they're playing the odds. They are assuming that by the time they're like, okay, if we can just get this surgery, then we won't have to deal with all their other really expensive medical issues until somebody else has them, because we only have them for average is 5 years. So these are things I wanted to present to you guys because nobody is recommending this because it is a long-term health solution. They are trying to manage you. That's it. They're trying to manage you and make sure that you cost them as little money as possible in terms of the insurance. But if you look at the side effects and the long-term effects, what they're doing is keeping you in the system. They're keeping you in the medical system forever, because once you have these surgeries, you always have certain issues, period. So I wanted to start out with that sobering information. Brittany says, my mom had gastric surgery as well as my college roommate. My college roommate definitely suffered from mental health issues. So that part of it, I feel like I could do a whole show on the fact that women come in presenting with mental health issues, and this is what we're doing. To me, it reminds me of like, when was it, when it's the 40s or 30s or something, when they were doing lobotomies, and women would come in and they'd be like, you're crazy, we're going to take out part of your brain. Yep. I mean, I was reading these statistics. Joanne and I are night owls. And so I'm up like typing to Joanne, like, I can't believe this. So once again, it's one of those things where I knew it was not going to be happy information. I knew I wasn't going to be excited about this information, because I talk to women all the time. And I know I consistently talk to women who this surgery has not gone well for. And they have gained the weight back, or gained, at least a good portion of it back. And they have lots of physical side effects that they have to deal with for the rest of their lives. I did not know about, and it makes sense. I did not know about the fetal damage. Makes complete sense, because if you are malnourished, then obviously if you get pregnant, this is a huge problem. And so knowing the statistics about this being specifically really about women and weight loss, it doesn't make any sense. If this were a medical decision, if you just had doctors stepping in when your BMI is over a certain amount and saying, hey, I think this is the best option for you, why is it only women who are doing this? It doesn't make any kind of sense if it is a medical issue. Brittany says, and my roommate's mother also had the surgery before she did. And I know Annette knows several people who have had this surgery. So I want to get started with Annette. I wanted to start with the statistics. You guys can jump in with any kind of questions or comments that you have. So Annette, thank you so much for being with us. First of all, we really appreciate this. This is an important topic. And you and I talked about this at length last night also. Very feisty in our responses. So when did your struggles with weight begin in your life?
Probably back when I was in my 20s. I had my daughter. And then every single time I had a kid, women knows you gain weight and then you just can't take it off. You're busy, which struggles with your kids. You start cooking dinner, you're working, and you're just throwing in whatever you want in your mouth. And then I just have a long history of my family being overweight. I come from an Italian family, like, everything revolves around food. Yes. So, and afterwards, I had my third daughter, when I was 29. 29. And next thing you know, I went to the doctors for actually sinus infection. And next thing you know, I feel him touching my throat. And I'm like, why is he touching my throat? It's in my nose and my ears. And he's like, oh, you have like a really large thyroid. Didn't even know what a thyroid was back then. Didn't even know what it did. And he's like, well, I need to go take you need to go over and get your throat, your whole neck scanned and all that. Before you know it, I was going to an endocrinologist on thyroid medicine, started gaining all this weight, even more weight that I gained with my kids. And I'm like, what's going on? So basically I was over medicated. Then I went about probably maybe 12, 13 years, kept on gaining weight, going up and down. My thyroid, I was overactive, underactive, didn't know that switched either. And then finally, I ended up finding out I had, like, after probably from 30 to about 43 or so, then I ended up finding out I had thyroid cancer. Got my thyroid taken out and all of that stuff. And when you have autoimmune disease, then all of a sudden, you can't attack the thyroid anymore. Then it went to I got arthritis really bad.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, wow, like, what am I going to do? So I thought, oh, okay, talk to my doctor. The best option he was like, well, maybe you should think of getting the sleeve or, or that band or whatever like that. So I went and talked to the doctor there. But before all of this, all my years, I was on Weight Watchers. I was on Jenny Craig. I don't know how many shakes, pills, whatever you could do. It was like, okay, because as a woman, the first thing you want is immediate results. Like, oh my God, I'm going to go to Jenny Craig. The ad says, oh, I'm going to be this skinny like this lady on the picture. And you lose 5 pounds or 10 pounds. But like we were talking last night, it doesn't matter what you do. Surgery, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, shakes. You still have to learn how to eat. And like my mom had the sleeve done. I have cousins that have the sleeve done. And guess what happens? They're not, maybe one of them is back to their original weight. My mom's over there, buying every cake in the bakery department, so they're just back to the same way that they used to eat before. Yeah. So then how I got into eating a plant-based diet is I was literally at my like rock bottom. I was like devastated.
So when you went to, last night you were telling me about how when you actually went to the bariatric surgery place.
Yeah.
They had you go through all the counseling, the whole, which cost you over
$1,000. Yeah, like over $1,000.
And then they were telling you to eat more, even though your cholesterol was high and you were having all these problems, they were telling you to eat more chicken and eggs.
Yeah, like protein, like you need your protein. Like, okay, of course, how, they show you the whole food wheel with the fruits, vegetables, this and that. And even the girl was telling me like, oh, make those frittatas in the morning and this and that, or whatever, you could throw bacon or whatever you want. And instead of adding like, spinach or something in there. So I went on that thing for over 6 months and literally lost probably 3 to 5 pounds. Like, it would fluctuate every time I went. So I'm like, I just spent all this money. I had to go and pay for this because I had to prove to the insurance company that I was trying to lose weight, that I was trying to be healthy. And I was never healthy at the end of it anyways. So, but then I was out $1,000 or so again.
And then to come to find out that your company,
I got denied for it.
That anyway, right? So you were under that exclusion policy. So which is just crazy that they didn't know that at the beginning. But as you said, at that point, you had just hit rock bottom.
Mm-hmm. And then it was funny. I got home from that appointment, and everybody knows your phone listens to everything you said. So I was over there talking to my husband. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't lose this weight. On thyroid hormones, which I can't ever get off. Went to my endocrinologist, said, hey, this is what I'm going through, whatever. She adjusted my medication, because my body for some reason does not absorb the medication very good at all. So she adjusted that. Then I start talking to my husband and I was like, I need to do something. I'm like, my inflammation in my body was higher than ever. So then I go to, what was the doctor for arthritis? One of those doctors.
The rheumatologist.
Yeah, there you go. That rheumatologist, then of course, we're going to take x-rays. We got to take blood work. Mm-hmm. My inflammation was like skyrocketed. Everything was terrible. My cholesterol, I had high triglycerides. My inflammation in my body was high, like everything was. So then, okay, here, let me put you on 10 pills of methotrexate every Friday. Well, then I go start researching what methotrexate is. That's cancer. They use that for chemotherapy to immune your immune system. So I'm like freaking out. I'm like, I'm on chemotherapy medicine. Like now, what if I get cancer? No, probably nothing's going to help me afterwards. So then afterwards, it was funny that night. I'm sitting on the couch and next thing you know, and bam, Lori's pops up. She must have been watching me on Facebook. She must have been listening to me talking about husband at home. Yeah. So then I was like, all right, you know what? Let me get her juice recipe. You were giving them away for free, that free week thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then all of a sudden I got a message from you and you're like, hey, just want to know if you got the juice thing, what are your goals and what are you trying to accomplish? And then I was like, well, this is where I'm at right now. I feel like you could just take a pin and pop me. That's how I felt. I felt so swollen. You had, I had heartburn, acid reflux. Like I remember, I don't know how many times I'd jump out of bed in the middle of the night because I just couldn't, like the acid comes up and it was terrible. Couldn't sleep.
The night sweats.
Oh gosh, the night sweats. Like, I mean, the brain fog, like it was like I was in my 30s and I felt like I had Alzheimer's or dementia.
That's what I did. Yeah.
Right. And you'd be sitting there and you'd be like, wait, hold on. I know what I was going to say. And then you're like, forget it. When I remember it, I'll let you know. And then sometimes it never came back to you. You were like, holy crap. And then I appreciate Lori because I told her what was wrong with me. And I was like, hey, I don't know where to start, because I even told Lori, I tried this like 5 years ago. I was working at a gym and the girl at the gym, that was my workout, like that I was paying her to help me with my physical fitness, said, we'll just add rice to everything. Cause I'm like, I don't know what to eat, cause we have this conception, if I'm a vegan or I eat a plant-based diet or whatever, all I'm gonna do is eat vegetables and this and that. So then I just let that go for a couple years. And then when I talked to Lori, I was like, hey, this is my problem. So of course I didn't believe in, the program or anything at this point. So she said, hey, you know what, start with this, take the eggs and take the dairy out of your diet. I did that. And probably within a couple of weeks, I just saw like, little by little myself like deflating. The swelling was going down, and that like just felt great in itself. And then afterwards, I was like, you know what? And we talk about husbands too. Hun, I'm going to try this out. It's like, oh my God, you spent money on this, and it never worked. And you're in the same spot. And I was like, well, what do I have to lose? I spend the money on all this stuff before. Let's just try one more thing, So I was just like, so I ended up doing it. And oh my gosh, like if I know as a woman, you want immediate results. Well, the first thing is going to happen to you is you're going to feel great. Like even after, the first week you're a juice, you might feel a little tired, have a headache, but you're just getting all that garbage out of your body. And of course, your body's going to react in some way. It's not going to just be like, whoa, okay, what is she doing to me? And then afterwards, I was just like, wow, okay. Then I went into the second week. And then, we had the, following what we need to do. Lori gave me all the tools that I needed to be successful in this. And then I just landed up like, wow, like 3 weeks later, I mean, I gotta say 2 weeks later, I felt like a completely new, different person. Like my mom, the heartburn went away, probably, I think, and acid reflux pretty much right away. I think that was the one thing and then the inflammation, like you just saw your body shrinking. And then I got to say in the first month, I want to say I probably dropped like 15 pounds. It was all that inflammation, all that stuff that was in your body. And then it just kept on going on and on and on from there. And I mean, hey, here 2 years later, and I'm still doing it.
Yeah. And you lost
70 pounds total.
And 50 to 60 of that was in the first 6 months, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I lost in the first 6 months, I lost 50 pounds. And then, of course, I plateaued. And then from there, it was a lot of inches. So always as women, we're always trained to get on the scale and look at the number. And I kept on telling Lori, I'm like, I'm stuck, but I went down a pant size.
Yeah.
So, and you keep on, you don't realize all the inches you landed up losing. And then you keep on going down a size. Okay, the scale didn't go anywhere, but you got to remember, you're trying to walk, work out, you're building muscle, you're getting rid of all that fat in your body. So now you got muscle there. So muscle weighs more than fat anyway. So then I was like, all right, let me just take the number out of the scale and like, let's see what how are my clothes fitting? And then before you knew it, I think maybe like 10 months I was with you, a year, I was in a size 6.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the incredible thing is that if you really are, if you're doing it, It's amazing. I mean, that's what happened to me in a year. I mean, my weight just fell off like a rock, just like yours. And it really, I know that, you know, Joanne and LT have had similar results where it's just, you know, everybody, like you said, you'll reach a plateau, but you're still somehow shrinking.
Yeah, right. You're stuck at that weight, but everything else is getting smaller.
Right. So what do you tried a lot of programs, and you know, I think the struggle that I have with what I do is explaining to people that my program is different, because I intentionally am making it different. This isn't, I hate to even call it a program, because everybody thinks of programs and it has like a
lifestyle. It's really honestly a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't realize.
What do you feel, because I know we've all struggled with the food addiction, and what do you feel like was different about this that made you be able to break free from that stuff?
I would definitely say the support. You know, we have our group on Facebook. So in the beginning, everybody posts up all the time. If somebody's having a bad day or just struggling, someone's always in there to like lift them up and say, hey, you know, hey girl, I was there too. You know, I had the same struggles. You know, you always have those bad days that you're like, oh man, I could just revert back to what I was doing before. But you don't want to. Like, I mean, I always looked back at being on this program, just always remembering how I felt before I started this.
Yeah. Right.
And do I want to feel like that again? Because you know what, we could look at I will just go back and look at my pictures and I remember to myself, oh my God, how did that Annette feel? Because, oh my God, I was miserable. I mean, on medication, on a whole bunch of things. And then I'd be like, okay, is that really that important? Because really, I don't want to eat them. Like, and actually your taste buds change. Like, you don't, like right now to meat, like if somebody's cooking it, like nobody's allowed to cook meat in my house because I'll get sick. You want to cook meat, you gotta go on the grill, go down to wherever you want to eat, go to the restaurant, because I just don't like the smell of it. Yeah. So, and my husband, honestly, I gotta say, you know, you were a great support team. You know, the Facebook, but then I feel like the best part of this is my husband supported me on the whole thing. And my husband is on a plant-based diet. Yeah. So yeah, like that was like, oh my gosh, I thought he was gonna have to buy a farm and put a cow and a pig in the backyard, because that's how much meat my husband ate. And I used to joke with him all the time, milk, like we used to buy milk by the gallons, like, yeah. So, and I was just like, and once he started seeing the results that I had, he was like, you know what, he's like, hun, don't make 2 meals. And at one point I was like, I'm not making 2 meals. You're either eating what I'm cooking or you can starve. Right. Because you know what? This is my kitchen. You don't cook in here. Right. And guess what? You're gonna eat what I'm feeding you. And guess what? If you don't like it, well, then you could eat when on the way home. Right.
Oh my gosh, Annette, you are speaking my language, girl. I tell women this all the time. I'm like, you are not a maid. You don't have to make sure that everyone loves what you're eating. If you want to present a healthy, delicious meal and they don't want to eat it, then fine.
And guess what? And try it. You might like it. Because you know, being Italian, I took all of my dishes that I made as Italian. And
I remember this.
Remember in the beginning, I flipped everything over and I was like, okay, because I love to cook. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna be Chef John's assistant, all right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So then I just said to myself, okay, my husband loves pasta, he loves spinach, he loves so everything that I took, I just switched it over into my plant-based diet. So ladies, you don't have to sit here and eat a salad. Like people will tell you, oh, what are you eating, that rabbit food? I'm not eating no rabbit food over here. I'm eating really good. And guess what?
We have an Italian in the Facebook audience here. She says, Annette, I'm Italian and I love it. You are so inspiring.
Yeah, and you could do it, girl. You could do it. And guess what? They don't need sausage and all that stuff. If you need sausage every once in a while, you could get beyond sausage. They have the Italian one that's really good. Delicious. You can slice that up and put it in your Italian dishes with your broccoli rabe and just use a little olive oil because we're taught to use like, the whole bottle,
Yeah.
And actually, what I do now, I'll take some water and put it in the pan. And then that Better Than bouillon actually has the garlic, like they have a garlic or they have the vegetable. Put that in there and you can steam your broccoli rabe, saute some of your vegetables in there. Garlic is great for you. You don't have to give up garlic. Garlic's great. So you know what? And just do it. And you want to do a little splash of wine if that's what you like. You can throw it in there too. And I mean, I turned every single dish that I've done, I've turned into it. Like I was telling Lori yesterday for Thanksgiving, and this was a big thing. I was talking about like my mom trying to sabotage me on Thanksgiving. Like, she was like over there. I was like, okay, Mom, you're boiling the mashed potatoes. Do me a favor. Leave me like a cup or a cup and a half aside. I'm going to make my mashed potatoes. She made the mashed potatoes the way she makes them. And she's like, oh, you could just eat them like that today. I'm like, no, Mom, I haven't eaten eggs, milk, anything. I probably this time is like a year and a half.
And you said like, your mom puts eggs in mashed potatoes, which was new for me. That was
eggs, a little bit of milk and butter. Yeah. So then I was like, holy macro, Mom, what are you doing? I was like, and she's like, oh, you could just eat them like that today. No, I'm not going to eat them like that today. So you know what? You got to set boundaries for your family where, hey, I work with my company that I work for is guy dominant. I'm the only women district manager that works for the company out of 70 men. I was like, I don't eat that. Like, oh, Annette, what you gonna have for lunch? I was like, now they be like, hey, Annette, where can we go that you can eat? And they go where I can eat. I went to a big conference this weekend, and guess what was there? They had, oh my God, I was telling her, they had bean burgers, veggie wraps for me. They had, one day we had a Mexican bar. We could do salads. You could do tacos. There was meat there, but then there was beans, there was corn. I made myself a nice big Mexican salad with like lettuce and all of that stuff.
Yeah. And I said that's a credit to you because you're setting the boundary. You're saying, here's what I'm doing. I'm not going to compromise just because this is what you people are eating. This is what I'm doing. And they respect that.
Yeah. And why do you have to turn around and eat what they eat just because that's all that's offered? Bring your own food if you have to.
Right. But I think it's very cool that they respect you enough to do that. And I think that's a credit to you just being like, I mean, it's a credit to them. I appreciate that. But it's, it's you saying, this is what I'm doing and I'm not compromising for anybody.
Exactly.
So we also had someone say that they're bawling their eyes out. And so I also wanted to bring this back to a couple different things. So first of all, you had a lot of conditions before you started this and you were on a lot of medications. So in addition to the weight loss, what happened with all of that?
I'm not on anything but my thyroid medicine. I'm not on any of my arthritis medicine, my high cholesterol medicine. My thyroid, I have no choice because they removed my thyroid. But if I only knew this probably 15 years ago, then I probably would have never gotten my thyroid taken out. But
that's a whole other,
we can't live in the past. We got to look forward, right?
Right.
So, but like got off and I was so scared. I felt so good. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I started weaning myself off my arthritis medicine. So I was like, so then to get rid of that last pill, because I was like, oh my gosh, what happens if I don't take this pill? And probably that one pill was not even doing anything for me anyways. Like what, I don't know, it's just your mind, And I completely went off of it, went like 2-3 weeks. And I was like, holy macro. I'm like, I don't hurt. I'm like, even remember I was telling you like that I had fibromyalgia. Oh my God, I'd go get a pedicure. And when the lady used to massage, I used to have, at one point I was like, just massage my feet and do my toes. About like, cause if somebody was like, one of my friends was like, hey, Annette, and I was like, oh my God, it was like, you just probably you felt like your whole arm was going to fall off because everything hurt on you.
You're so sensitive. Yeah.
And that's all from all the bad foods we ate, so then the meat, the dairy and all that stuff. And then I was just like, when I got off everything, I was like, holy macro. Then I went and got my blood work done. And then we talked, I was iron deficient. I was anemic as a meat eater. eating steak, chicken, fish, pork, whatever we ate. And I had all of these problems. I go to the doctor now and they're like, you're not even anemic anymore. What are you doing? And I was like, eat more veggies. No. Eat
Well,
green
and
leafy
that's
vegetables, you know?
exactly. And that's the gut health part of this as well, which is that when your gut is healthy, you can actually absorb the nutrients. It's not only taking in the nutrients, but whether or not your body can actually do anything with them. And if you have gut inflammation from a lifelong struggle with obesity and all these other issues, your body is not processing stuff the way it should.
Yeah.
So that is also key in this, is that, you know, I think the thing with weight loss surgery is because, you know, we get underneath this, the weight for so long that you just want it off. And that's all you're thinking about. And it becomes less about, you're not so much thinking about the health issue, as just, I got to get this weight off.
Yeah. And you want the instant gratification that it's like, bam, it's going to come off like in a couple months.
Yeah. But you said now you have a couple of friends in your life who've had this. And can you tell me what you've experienced with them and how they're doing?
Yeah. Well, one of my best friends had the band done. And I just remember when she first got the name, first, her hair is terrible. You know, our hair is great now. You know, I'm just saying. Her hair was falling out. It still is. It's thin as can be. So a lot of people that you see that had weight loss surgery, they'll end up with like bald spots on their hair.
And just for people watching, that's vitamin deficiency, because once you have these surgeries, you're not
you have to be on supplements for the rest of your life.
Right.
So they have to take a bunch of pills. They have to take, like you say, okay, you throw up and you're nauseous, so they have to take a nausea pill. So aren't you trying to get away from all the medication, and you're getting a surgery and now you're on like 20 different medications? I remember driving down the road with my best friend, and she had the surgery, went out to lunch, probably ate 2 or 3 bites, maybe forced down the 4th bite. We're driving in the car, and all I remember is going down the highway. She's like, oh my God, pull over, pull over. I'm like, pull over. Literally, my car was still rolling. She had to jump out of the car, run into the woods. And every time I was with her, she throws up. And I said to her, you're skinny, but and so pale, like malnutrition looking, like not even healthy. Because everybody has this concept, like, I'm going to eat vegetables and I'm going to be pale, I'm going to be sick. It's it's the opposite. You know, I mean, your skin's great, your hair is great, your nails are good, you know.
You said your skin, that there's a huge difference in your skin.
Oh yeah, my skin, like nobody gets pimples.
You had rosacea.
I had rosacea, so I would never go without, I have makeup on today because I had to do a couple Zoom calls, but I would never go without makeup because my nose and my cheeks and everything was just bright red. And so I would just put makeup on to cover it. If I took off my makeup actually, you have a picture of me that I was actually at a retreat and I didn't have absolutely no makeup. I was like, I'm at the beach, who cares? And my skin is great. I don't get pimples. I don't break out anymore. The only time I'll ever break out is I could go out to dinner and I would say, hey, this is what I want. And then you know that because something was in there that you haven't eaten or that you've then maybe I'll just be like, gosh, I just got like a hive on my lip here or something, or something that I didn't, that was in this that I don't eat anymore. So, but it'll go away after, I guess, my body. But, I used to get even when I used to get, your monthly cycle every month, and next minute you'd break out and, oh my God, that's even better too, so my hair just is like, girl, what are you eating? Your hair grows like weeds. Like, I've never had long hair in my life. I could have the option if I want to cut it short or keep it long now, so.
Yeah.
Your nails grow and they're so strong and they're not brittle and they're not breaking and everything.
Right. Yeah. And that really is, it's about the nutrition. And so it's more, that's the thing that that people don't realize is they, and I, again, no judgment against women who are considering this or who have done it, because in our society, for a woman, the worst thing you can be is fat. That's the worst thing that you can be. And it does feel awful, but also society is telling you how awful it is.
Yeah.
So, and Gina is saying, I know a lot of people that have had the sleep surgery and it looks like they've aged overnight. This is what I noticed. You don't even recognize them.
Yeah, their skin looks terrible. Their hair looks terrible. And you know, and you didn't even have, your body doesn't even have the time. Your body's not healthy inside. And then you're losing this weight so fast. Now they have all this saggy skin, and every single person that I know that had the surgery, they're like, oh my God, now I'm going to have to go got this tummy tuck. I got to do this. I got to do that. Like, got all the skin hanging from their arms. And I just personally myself, as being, I was almost a size 18 and now I'm a size 6. Yeah. And I was like, and I noticed my body like losing the inches and losing the weight. I was walking, doing Pilates 3 times a week, which I'm still doing that, but I got to get back into all of that again. Just this pandemic messed up everything. Like, gosh. Oh, yeah. But hey, didn't mess up. I don't know about you, but the produce department was never empty in my area, so I got to eat really good, right?
Big meat shortage, but we got.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't eat meat, like you. Yeah, so you know, so it was like I was still able to eat good. I was still able to walk. You know, my neighborhood. You know, we were trying to get together and do those things. But I noticed, like, when you go on a plant-based diet, and probably Joanne and LT can probably say it too, your kind of body shrinks with you. Yeah, you might have a little something loose, but it's adjusting as you go, you know, and you're losing those inches and stuff. And I mean, it's totally different.
It is. Your body just is different. My body looks and behaves differently. And that is due to what they call epigenetics. And again, that's the thing. I could do a whole
show on that.
Yeah, because epigenetics is how your DNA, your actual DNA, changes when you adopt a plant-based diet, which is such a cool. It's a really cool study.
And then go ahead. Sorry.
No, well, so, and we have someone, Michelle, saying that she had bariatric surgery and she gained it all back. And that's something else that I hear a lot in addition to the physical problems. So, and I say this all to say, I mean, I'm not saying that there's never been somebody out there that it doesn't work for and that doesn't go on to keep the weight off. But if you look at the statistics, that's not what happens to most people. And what they're trying to do is your insurance has you for a certain amount of time, and they're just trying to spend as little money on you as possible. And so this is the way that they do it. So Annette, before we let you go, what message do you have for women who are considering the surgery?
I mean, I can't make the decision for you, but I wouldn't do it. Everything is mindset. You know, they just remember when you go to that geriatric doctor, they send you to a psychologist or psychiatrist to make sure that you're making the right decision. And afterwards, you can't eat the food that you wanted to eat before. And you still land up, I know so many people that you still have a mental, or they might not had a mental illness before, and now they're depressed because they can't eat the way they want to. So anything we do in life, I've been in sales all of my life, and I tell even the people that I work with, anything that you want to be successful in life, it's all mindset. So if you put it to your mind, like, this is what I want to do. I want to eat healthy. I want to be healthy from the inside out. And that's where it starts, because you're healing your body from the inside. And then afterwards, you see it on the outside, how great you feel, your energy, your skin, your hair, you know.
And you still get to eat.
Yeah, and you're eating.
You don't have to. That's the thing, is you're not just then relegated to try to eat a couple bites. But all of us eat a lot.
Oh, I'm a big eater. Trust me, I'm a big eater.
Yeah.
But you don't have to give up the things that you don't like, because you're giving up meat, but who cares? You know what? You want to have a dessert every once in a while? You know what? You can have it. You just find a plant-based option for it.
Yes.
Even with the ice cream section. Oh my God, my grocery store, I got there's 2 sections now of ice creams that you can pick from if you want to have an ice cream. And the coconut milk ones are I love those. Those are the ones that are the best, that taste good.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't have to give up anything that you feel like. Yeah, you're not deprived of anything. If anybody tells you, oh, you're on a plant-based diet, what are you going to do? Just eat vegetables? One thing I could say is, especially with going with Lori, we have tons of options of food. Mm-hmm. And then you learn to make other things. Like I even have my kids saying, hey, Mom, are you going to make that dish tonight? So we can come over and eat. I have this Mexican dish that I make that's like that I bake in the oven, and my kids love it. And guess what? They're not 100% on, you know, they still go to Chick-fil-A or whatever, but eventually they'll learn to eat it 100%. But
well, and I think that the bottom line is there that you and your family are breaking generational curses.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing that because you're showing your kids a different way. I mean, you're surrounded, the people that your parents and you know, you were telling me even with your mom and your dad both have these issues with obesity, diabetes, all of these things. And you're breaking that cycle and showing your kids a different way, which is something as parents that is, I think, and I hope is important to all of us.
Yeah, because when we're 70, I want to enjoy my life. I don't want to be like, they can't get off their recliners sometimes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be like that.
Right.
Hey, and you know what the best part of this too is? It ages you backwards. No,
that's right.
You get to go backwards.
Oh my God.
Who needs a plastic surgery when you could just be on a plant-based diet, right?
It really is like that. And that's not something like, no matter who you talk to, we'll say that. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter who you talk to, as opposed to having this surgery and having people say that you look like you're 20 years older. Like, so yeah, there's so many different facets to this. So, and now we just thank you so much for coming on and being so honest with people about this, because this is becoming an epidemic. We have 300,000 people in this country every year who are getting this surgery, mostly women. And until we start speaking out about this and just being honest about what it's about, then this trend is not going to change. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you.
Thank you. Hey, I would not be where I am today. And you know what? In 2 years, and you know what's great too? 2 years later, you're still wearing the same size jeans that you were. I didn't have to go take I call them my fat clothes. My fat clothes. You know what I did? I got rid of all of them. Somebody was telling me, pack them up. Do not leave them in the house, because that's just like, well, if I do gain weight, I have the clothes there to fit. No, that was an option time.
Well, and people on Facebook are thanking you too for being so honest, and it has been an absolute joy to work with you and see your transformation.
You too. Well, hey, I'm in the Facebook group, so if anybody has a bad day and they need someone to talk to, throw me a message. I'll help you out.
Yeah, we appreciate you so much.
No problem. Bye, guys.
Bye. Good luck, everyone. Bye. So, yeah, you know, her experience and, you know, the experience, what she's seen with so many people around her, is the kind of thing that I'm hearing all of the time. So for you guys, you know, at your heaviest, did you ever consider this? And, or did a doctor talk to you about this, or what has happened in your experience?
I never considered it because I think I was in denial of actually how heavy I was. So I never, you know, and I don't know what the point is at, you know, what weight your doctor will recommend it for you. But I never really considered it, just because I thought, you know, the things I saw on TV were like my 600-pound life kind of things. And that's when you have it. But since I've been, you know, since you've taught me more and I've been in the group, it's not people who are 600 pounds who are getting this. This is people who, I was at that point probably where somebody might have recommended it. But I mean, for me, it was never a thought.
Right. Mm-hmm. What about you, LT?
Well, yes, it was a thought for me, and I actually did it. I had lap band surgery 16 and a half years ago. I was 34 years old. I had a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old at the time, and nobody positioned it to me. I sought it out. When my daughter was the youngest, she was 2, and I knew then that I had gained more than what I was the day of delivery with her. And I had already been on all these programs since I was started when I was 20 years old. So this has been 14 years worth of programs up and down. And I just thought I had hit my rock bottom, and I was very secretive about it. And I sought it out on my own, and I went to another state to have this done. And I told nobody except for my husband, nobody. And had somebody keep the children that day because it was a in and out procedure, and I came back home. And the reason why I picked that one is because at the time I did not have to lose 100 pounds or more, and that's what they were saying was for the gastric bypass. So that's why once I got in with the bariatric people, that's why they had recommended the lap band. I already knew I was doing it. It's just they had recommended that one because of the BMI and all of that. So, and I thought at the time, I honestly thought, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. This is what I need. This is what I want. This is going to solve it all. And I paid almost $15,000, and it was not covered by insurance, wrote them a check. And it's one of the major, major regrets of my life. It's right up there at the top.
So, and just April, who is a nurse, is saying, I'm seeing it approved way too often. Not one person I've talked to afterwards was grateful for having it done. So many complications and negative side effects. Yeah. Kayla says, this has just changed my decision. Oh, I'm going to cry. I'm not going to my appointment at Upstate Bariatric Surgery on September 7th. Thank you, guys.
Well, then that made it worth it.
It does. That really does. As you guys know, this is a passion for me. And if I can reach people with this message, that means a lot to me.
Yes, absolutely.
So I appreciate,
because let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what happened when I had to get all the psychiatric and all that ahead of time too. And I was already plugged in with a psychiatrist and a counselor at the time. And she happily wrote off on all of this because we had already been, she had heard me in so many discussions and said, Lori, this weight is an albatross on your neck. And I'm like, I know. And so she was the one who wrote off on everything. So I just cleared all those testing. I just thought, this is it. I mean, I was just almost euphoric that I was getting this done. And, honestly, I didn't even lose 30 pounds with it. It was just about the 25-pound mark. And then this is what happened. They want you to eat a bunch of protein, and they want it because it makes you have that feeling of that fullness. You can't eat anymore, or else you're going to get sick. And I did a lot of throwing up in the beginning because you have to figure out what that was. Well, listen, somebody that has a food addiction problem that has not addressed it and was in denial about it, you can get away with a lot because you don't have to eat all that protein stuff. You know what? Milkshakes and ice cream and everything else goes down very, very easily. That's what happened to me. I never got to the root of the problem. And I just thought I was at my rock bottom. It was after I gained all of that back. I gained an additional 35 pounds after what I thought was my highest. Oh my God. Okay. Right.
So do you get it removed after that, or what do you?
You can. I still do not have mine removed. It is in. What I do is I do not go, and I haven't been in years and years and years. I don't go for those fills where they have your port and they put that saline or whatever that solution is because it tightens that band. So my band is loose and doesn't even have any sort of effect at all. And I honestly feel like I would have done more good giving $15,000 to a homeless shelter. I mean, the guilt of that was just incredible. I just felt awful because, here we were young parents at the time, and, I just felt horrible about it. We're in a different stage of life than I was back then. And I just, like I say, it's a major, major regret on multiple levels, but I can get it removed. And that is a choice that I may make one day. I have not. It really doesn't affect me right now because I just don't keep up with the maintenance with the fills.
Right. Yeah, I would imagine just having a surgical procedure, if you feel like it's not really doing anything harmful at this point, it's just not doing anything at all.
It's not doing anything at all.
It would be
It's
just
a non-entity, really. Yeah.
correct.
But the one thing I've noticed is, since I have lost weight on your program, because, you know, at this point I'm pushing almost 90 pounds at this point. But what the thing is that my port is a lot more visible, and it's more noticeable because it's not hidden in a bunch of with a lot of layers.
Yeah. So you said, so I wanted to go back to something that you said, which is that, you know, that's the main problem is you're not changing your mindset.
That's right.
And you're not, so the only thing, this is what Western medicine does, which makes me crazy, right? They're like, oh, you have a problem with weight. Let's put a barrier so that you can't use your whole stomach. This is what, if you have a foot problem, you go to the foot doctor. If you have an eye problem, you go to the eye doctor. Well, guess what? When my husband went plant-based, he doesn't have to wear glasses anymore. And all these years, he's been just going to the eye doctor. They're like, yeah, you can't see right. Here's some glasses. This is what we do. We take pieces and parts, and it's not addressing the whole person.
Yeah, right.
And so, yeah, so they're like, yeah, let's either, you know, surgically remove part of, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that they do with these bariatric surgeries, but they're not addressing the real issue. And especially with children, the problem is we have these foods, for those of you guys who don't know this, that everything that you're eating, because the standard American diet is 70% processed food, has a bliss point. It is what they've done is they have, in a clinical setting, determined the exact amount of salt, sugar, and fat that will make that food the most addictive. And they don't have to tell you what they're doing. And you can look this up. There's a whole book on it called Salt, Sugar, Fat by Michael Moss, who is a prize-winning journalist. This is a well-known fact. It's legal. And our food is addictive. And so instead of talking about our food system, when you have children as young as 7, I looked up, I'm like, how old are these kids that are getting this surgery? Children as young as 7. Instead of addressing our whole system, which is designed to keep people addicted to their food. It is infuriating on a level that I cannot describe. It is heartbreaking and infuriating. And it is targeted towards women specifically, and now women and children.
Yeah.
It's not an answer.
No.
And so, but what you were saying, Lori, is, you know, that is the thing. It's the trigger foods that, so what has being on a plant-based diet, how has that changed for you? You know what I mean? Because you have talked about food addiction a lot.
Yes, I severely underestimated it. And I didn't even know that I really had it. But now I look back and my gosh, not only did I have it, I checked every box with it. So, you know, and I did things in secret, and I hid and I isolated, and I was full of shame with things. And so that's why I just kind of kept this part of my life was so private. I am such an extrovert in so many different areas that I really kept this really private, and I just poured myself out into my journals. But the bigger I got, the more isolated I wanted to be and didn't participate as much. And that really isn't who I am. That's not the root of who I am. But once I really got to have that detox week with you, those 5 days with those fresh juices, once my palate changed, once I really started feeling better right away, and I started eating a proper plate instead of the standard American, and I started incorporating all these fresh vegetables in, it just really, it became less and less about the weight, even though that's why I was there. I was just feeling so much better. These menopausal night sweats were driving me bananas. My mood up and down, my hormones, my disposition. I had tried all these Band-Aids to fix all of these different things, and it just would not work. And then your program just was a culmination of everything that I needed, that I didn't even know I needed. And I just say that I built a life out of it because of it. And now it's so clear to me now at age 51, looking back. I mean, it's just crystal clear what should have been done, and what I, wish I had made better choices and all of this kind of thing. And I would love to go back to that 34-year-old and grab her by the shoulders, but ever forward. And that's my motto. And that's why here we go. I know better now, and I'm going to do better now.
I
Yeah.
think though, I mean, I appreciate you sharing this so much because I know that there are people listening to this or going to listen on the replay that this was really helpful for. And like you said, with the way that, you know, we make meaning out of these
Yeah.
things that happen is by the fact that you can talk about it and help somebody else and you can
Mhm.
learn from it. And so people
Well,
need to understand. Go ahead.
That's right. And that's why I do this. I was, you know, people that have watched me on these 34 episodes think, I've said it many times, think I'm an open book, but I was not an open book at all. But when I started getting really honest about myself and being very authentic with myself and with other people, that's when I started seeing real change. And I'm talking about change to the point that you're saying I'm never going back.
Mhm.
You know, my clothes are gone from the closet, the big clothes. I kept them for years because they were the just in case clothes. I can say this with certainty that I'm never going back. I've never been able to say that before because I've completely changed my thinking, my way of doing business, the way I react, the way I respond. And it all came with mindset and getting rid of this food addiction that had a powerful hold on me that I wouldn't claim because I was too ashamed to claim it. Now I claim it. Now I'm telling you about the surgery. There are people in my life now that still have no idea that I've had the surgery. No idea.
Yeah,
Because I don't go around with a billboard saying it, but I'm welcome to say it in this group and to talk about it. But, you know, it's not the type of thing that in my day-to-day life, I want to go, hey, guess what? About 16 years ago, I made the biggest mistake, you know.
well, right. So that's
Right.
like me with, you know, being bulimic when I was in
Yeah.
high school and early college, you know, that's not something, you know, I don't want to have that put on a t-shirt, right?
Right.
Like, that's
Right.
not-
Exactly. That's it.
But I know that when I talk about it and explain my experience with it, that people get it and it resonates with them and it helps them. And I certainly learned a lot from my experience with it. And
sure.
I never really considered weight loss surgery, mostly out of fear. I had seen, you know, my mom had a lot of liposuction and different things done, and her body never reacted well to that stuff. And I had seen, well, you know, of course, my grandma had been through a couple of open heart surgeries. And I mean, I had just seen all of this medical stuff going on around me. And I was just like, I just don't want any part of that. So for me, my doctor, when I, you know, talked about my weight to him, he actually put me on Ritalin.
Mhm.
And that was awful. I was off that within a week. And so, I mean, just the stuff that they do to us when we start talking about this, like that was way back before I knew anything about our food system.
Right.
And so this is and we believe that our medical doctors will have the answer, but in
Well,
fact,
sure.
they only have about, the average doctor has about 72 hours of of nutritional training in the entire 8 to 11 years that they are in medical school and internship. 72 hours. So they don't know. Most of them do not know.
Mhm.
And so we're going to the wrong people to talk about this.
Mhm.
So,
And that was one of my programs. One of my 26 programs was a doctor who was my gynecologist who opened up a side business. You would go in the left door to see him as an OBGYN. You'd go in the right door to see him for his Medi weight loss. And that was all the shots and the pills. And I felt like I was hepped up like a crazy person.
I just feel like my head could explode when
my heart was just racing out of my chest. And I said, I feel like I'm about to have a heart attack. I can't seem to slow. I mean, that is just, you know, and I would go multiple times a week. It wasn't a once a week thing. It was multiple times a week.
And don't get me started on the chiropractors who have now gotten on board with this, selling you thousands of dollars worth of supplements. Oh my God.
Yes.
That I cannot bear either. I mean, there's just so much.
There's a lot.
Charlatan bullcrap going on out there. And it doesn't matter whether, he might be a great chiropractor, but this has nothing to do with that. So that's, you know,
That's
or
right.
he might be a great OBGYN in terms of, you know, I don't know, delivering babies or something, but that doesn't mean he should be doing any weight loss stuff. This is.
And business was booming. When I went years ago, booming.
So Gina would like to tell you that you're inspiring and real and have taught me to be honest with myself, is what she said.
Well,
So.
good. Honesty is the best policy. It's, you know, if you're honest, you don't have to have a good memory because you can just tell the truth.
That's right.
what I say
Exactly.
about
You
it.
don't have to remember all the stuff that you weren't honest about.
That's right.
So what is it that you guys think about the fact that I'm still on this? 80% of these surgeries are women. What makes women more susceptible to considering this as a solution?
Image.
I think it could be a whole separate show on just that, because of the society we live in, and how many ways women are taught to be, how they're supposed to look and how they're supposed to act, and how we make a joke. Like you said at the beginning, how back in the day, when women hit menopause and they started having hormone swings, they were given lobotomies, or they were sent away to go live somewhere else because nobody could handle them. Like, I feel like that this is a modern day version of that same treatment of how women are viewed. And when over the generations we're taught to not trust ourselves, I just think that speaks volumes of why women are allowing their 7-year-old children to have a gastric bypass. Why? Like, why can't you trust yourself? Why can't you trust, don't just listen to what the doctors are telling you? Because I mean, no, I can't. I get so like fired up about it that I can't even process it. It's just, it's maddening, really. It
really is. And I think that to me has been the most startling thing in my research, was the fact that you have 50% of the population, of the obese population, is women, but 80% are the ones getting this surgery. It seems, and 73, even worse, 73% of the children are girls.
Yeah.
This seems predatory to me.
Yeah.
This seems the system seems predatory.
Yeah.
You got to know that the doctors realize this. They're the ones recommending and doing the surgeries. They got to realize that it's all girls. Do they not? It doesn't, something about this almost seems sinister to me. I mean, that's sinister in that I'm not trying to float any kind of conspiracy theory, but our society is set up in a way that you cannot win as a woman, because you are set up to hate yourself from the start, and you have all of these addictive foods at your disposal. And how are they going to fix that? With surgery.
And that's why I love the fact that you call this the plant power revolution. And like, it's just becoming more and more real for me that it is a revolution, because here on one side of it, you have so many generations of women not trusting themselves and not feeling good about themselves, and so many generations of men. That could be a whole separate subject. I don't know if you guys have ever read the book, The Broken American Male by Rabbi Shmuley Boteach. I think you'd find it very interesting, because we talk so much about how society is, the patriarchy, and women are treated as such. It's generational with men too. And men are taught to live up to a certain way they're supposed to act. So it's like the men are acting the way they are taught to act, treating the women the way they think they're supposed to treat them. It's just a whole big hamster wheel. Somebody needs to put a stick in it and we all need to fly off, because it's just this cycle that gets going. And I feel like, it's just perpetuating. So the fact that you call it a revolution, we need to put the information out that we can change our daughters, we can change our sons to think a different way, to know different information, to counteract everything that's already been taught to them from generation to generation. It needs to stop. It just needs to stop.
We need to wake up.
Yeah, we need to wake up and take action on it. And that's what I love about this is I notice it in myself. I'm breaking generational curses from my mom to me and now to my daughters. It's like, that's how it starts.
Right. Right. And we have to, in order to do that, you really do have to wake up and realize, I use this analogy a lot, that you're in the matrix.
Yeah.
Everybody is taught to think a certain way. You have to really be more objective than that. You have to look at this and say, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And that's, to get back just for a second though, to the medical part, what I do want to say is that with, with Annette, she went and they paid $1,000 for the counseling because somehow now she has to prove that,
Mhm.
I've never understood what the whole point is of that, because it doesn't, if you could actually prove that you can lose weight, then you
Yeah.
would be doing it.
It was a
right?
series of multiple choice questions. I remember doing that. It wasn't a lot of essay, but I can remember filling out that little sheet and circling like you were in a school, with a little test, doing that kind of thing. So, because they had to give my psychiatrist a certain exam to give to me, in addition to, she had to sign off on it. And she had to recommend. And of course, she had a long history of my counseling sessions where that was the crux of my topic. And so she was, very willing to sign off on it, because that, like she said, this is the albatross. And I said, it is.
Well, and then they had their dietitian is telling her to eat more eggs and more chicken,
Mhm.
even though her cholesterol was out of
Yes.
control.
And they tell me that too, because that's filling, and that makes you, and you end up just eating a portion of what you would fix for a plate, because that makes you full. And then you learn what that feeling is like, because if you go just 2 seconds over it, 2 steps over it, you're going to start throwing up. Like her friend said, like it's uncontrollable, like you're going to throw up.
Right.
And you do throw up a lot when you're figuring it out, to figure out what that little ratio is.
Right, which
Yeah.
how miserable. So
It is miserable.
so one thing I want people to understand is that a registered dietitian is on a government-sponsored educational program. Okay, so when you cannot be a registered dietitian unless you have taken the government-sponsored program, and that is how you are educated to promote meat and dairy. That's it. So that's when they have their conferences, that's what they're promoting. They even promote fast food as part, they've had McDonald's as one of their sponsors. So a registered, and I'm not bashing every registered dietitian out there, but I'm just saying this is the education process for them. That's part of the problem. And so you go and they're going to tell you the same thing. So, and what's happening over time is your body, because you have all this gut inflammation, like what we talked about with, with Annette and even with you, LT, is that your gut flora is completely out of whack.
Mm-hmm.
You have gut inflammation from the way that you're eating, and therefore your gut flora is set up to crave certain things.
Yeah.
And so you're not fixing, you're only making your gut inflammation worse with the surgery. That's so it's only going to make you more miserable in terms of what you are craving. And like you said, you figure out they're like protein. You're like, oh, there's protein in this milkshake. And I've talked to people like that. They're like, that's all I do is drink milkshakes. And I'm like, how is that healthy? How could that possibly, and one of the women that I worked with, she had gained almost all of her weight back from gastric bypass. And she had no idea how to eat. She was still going to McDonald's. She was just getting smaller portions and, whatever her body could handle. And her stomach just stretched back out over time. And so it just is, when you go for into these surgeries, it's not addressing the problem. And the problem is our addictive food, the fact that women are from the beginning set up in this unrealistic ideal that you have to do it all, not practice self-care, but somehow look perfect while you're doing it all. And there's no way to reach that. There's no way to get there. And so we have this self-loathing set up with this food system of addictive foods, and this is what you get. So that's what we talk about in our program, that's not just the weight, that's the pipeline of bullshit that gets you to the size you are. The pipeline is what we address in the program, the balance, the self-love, the boundaries. Like in that, I love that she brought up boundaries, because I can see she's a boundary queen, and I'm like, yes, queen, because You have to. And so many women don't even know where to start. They don't
Right.
even, I've actually had women say that, I don't even know where to start to set boundaries. What is a boundary, right?
Right. And the
Right.
self-care, and they feel so guilty and they don't want to take 2 seconds for themselves because how dare they? Right.
Right, right, because it's considered selfish.
Considered
You will be
selfish.
shamed if you take a nap. Oh,
Right.
well, it must be nice that
Must
you
be
can take a nap,
nice.
right?
Correct.
I mean, it is just, we cannot step outside of the lines at all and in their boxes like this. And so it's
Mhm.
no wonder that women are losing their shit. I mean, seriously.
I know it. You're right.
So this is what we talk about, and getting the trigger foods out of your life so that you are no longer a slave to these foods, that you love your food, but you're not a slave to your food. Your food is not the boss of you anymore.
Yes.
And you do this with one-on-one coaching and support and community of other women who
That's right.
100% get it.
Mm-hmm. And when we say 100%, I'm telling you, there is honestly nothing that you can tell me that I probably have not done. I'm serious about that, y'all. I've done every trick in the book, and it's ridiculous, and I'm ashamed of a lot of it. But that's why I say it has a purpose now. It has meaning. I never tire of talking of the subject of this because this whole weight thing was so prevalent in my life for so many years. I'm talking front center stage. That's why I just feel like this is a natural fit for me, even to be able to express and talk, because it consumed me.
Right.
It consumed me because I couldn't get it.
I have to say, though, TULT, that I don't think any of us should be ashamed. I really feel like this is just what else would happen?
Yes, it was.
If you put anyone, this is just what, this is like a recipe. This is, you put people in this situation, and then this is the results you get.
Right.
This is just what happens in our society, clearly, or we wouldn't be in the shape that we're in. I mean, as a society.
It's a perfect storm. It's really a perfect storm because you have all these ideals about what box women are supposed to be in, and then the influx of all the toxic foods that we're fed from big food and whatever, and then big pharma comes along and gives you all these medications. You feel like crap. You're told that you're crap. It's the perfect storm, and then you just give up and you want a coping mechanism. So it's handfuls of chocolate, or it's drinking wine,
and then you freak out and you're like, okay, well, now I'm going to do this diet, and then
because what else?
Right.
That's it.
This is just what happens. April said, I think all of us now understand the purpose that played in our lives, and April is another one of our amazing coaches and who also completely understands this. And so once again, we've gone a little long, but this was I think this is a profound issue. It's an important thing that we need to just start talking about very honestly. And again, no judgment. This is about understanding, though, and understanding actual facts, and not just our idea of what we wish it would happen, and really understanding what brings us to this point. Because it's not just that you're weak and you can't control yourself. That's not, that's what we're taught. That's what we're like, oh, well, you're a failure, so therefore that you're going to have to go do this. And that's not what is happening here.
No.
So I appreciate everyone so much who is tuning into this. I hope if you're watching it on the replay, that you will also feel free to comment, because we do come back and check that. Kayla says, thank you. Tish says, I am starting to understand so much more about myself. Thank you. And so we love that, and we appreciate you being vocal about that so much. Feel free to reach out to any one of us. We are, whether it is about the program or about your personal experience and your questions that you have, we all welcome that. So, so we thank you. And next week, we have another really great episode about change, from someone who thought that she could never change. And she has changed dramatically. It's my
dramatically. Gosh, she's amazing. She blows me away.
I know. Her name is Christy. We absolutely love her, and she has a great story. So we'll talk about that next Friday. Have an amazing holiday weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.